Okay, question. Is it too late for midlife reinvention? Well, our guest today is going to tell you why it is not too late and how you can start today. So we are so excited. Today we have Pirie Jones Grossman joining us for MidLife Besties. Pirie is a certified life coach who helps women with self-esteem and helps them reignite the second chapter of their lives with her coaching. She is also a TEDx keynote speaker who shared the stage with the likes of Dalai Lama, Deepak Chopra, Elizabeth Gilbert, just to name a few. She's also an Amazon bestseller with her book, Conversations with Pirie, 30 stories of people who have reinvented themselves. So we are so excited to have her join us today. So let me bring on Suzanne, my midlife bestie, and we will get started. Hang on just a second. Let me bring her on. My name's Karen, and this is Suzanne, and we are midlife besties. Hi, Suzanne.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Very good. So excited for this conversation today with Pirie.
Good to be here. Yes, can't wait. Looks like she is about to join us.
Awesome. Good.
So I'm Suzanne. This is Karen. We started Midlife Besties because we realized there's a whole lot of conversations to have now that we are in midlife that people aren't addressing, or that it's just time to celebrate. So here we are. There's Pirie. Welcome, Pirie.
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Great. So glad to see you today. How's your day going?
Well, likewise. You know what? It's gorgeous, beautiful. There's no complaints in Sun Valley, Idaho. It's just
nice.
There you go. Well, that's great.
Yes.
So we're delighted to have you here today, and let's just dive into the conversation. I mean, we're talking about midlife reinvention, or what's another word you would call it? Just do it. Just get started on something.
I call them do-overs too. It's like, you know what? We sit there and we just ask ourselves, when is the right time for reinvention, right? That's one of the biggest questions I get. And it's usually when I say, hey, how happy are you? Are you unhappy? Are you depressed? Are you feeling a little blah? Are you lost? Are you stuck? Are you bored? You know, is it the first time that you're alone at home and all your kids have gone, or maybe you've gone through a divorce and you're looking at yourself and kind of like, now what? That's a good time.
What would you say? What would you say to the midlife woman who just feels overwhelmed by the obstacles and just not inspired by, the possibilities? Instead, she feels overwhelmed. What would you say to her?
Well, listen, most of the time when I talk to women, they tell me all these amazing dreams that they want to do, and they get into them and they're detailed. So my next natural question is, well, why haven't you done it? What's been holding you back? And it is obstacles, which is nothing more than fears, right? Yeah. And some of the biggest fears is I'm too old, it's too late, maybe I don't have credentials, I don't know how to do it, I don't have the money. I mean, there's all kinds of things. Usually I'm not worthy, all of that. Yeah. But I want to invite, because I want to teach a little bit, if you guys don't mind. It just comes natural to me and I love doing it. But for your followers, if they just take out a pad and paper, I'm going to give you the 4 biggest obstacles.
We're going to get to the juicy stuff here.
We're going to do it because we need the answers, and we're going to do it. And then I'm going to tell you how you can overcome them. So the biggest thing is the fear of failure, right? Mm-hmm. That's the number one. Also, is a family member going to ridicule? My friends are going to just, ridicule me, right? Who do you think you are? You need to stay small. What are you talking about, right? We hear those voices, and they're also inside of us, because the obstacles happen inside of us. They're not outside of us. And I even name my inner critic, and this is another way to kind of make friends with that inner critic. So my name is Pirie. I name her Pesky.
There you go. Love it.
Pesky. So when I get these obstacles, I just say, okay, Pesky, you've got 10 seconds. Give me your best shot of everything of why I shouldn't do something. And that makes it where you have a familiar relationship with that inner critic instead of something you want to always push down, because she's going to always be in your voice, right?
Always.
So the number one way of helping you overcome obstacles is to remember the power of regret,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And there's a great book, Daniel Pink talks about this. And so what will you regret the most if you don't do it? Because you won't even have a regret if you try, even if you fail. But there's never that feeling of, oh gosh, what would be if I did that, right? Another thing is to have a strong vision and to make it where it just lives inside of you and it's something you get so excited about doing, and have a commitment to making that vision come true. Now, here's the juicy stuff. So, number one, negative talk. What are you saying to yourself? And I call them the mental gremlins. And this is what you tell yourself, what you believe. I'm unworthy, you know, all of these things.
Right.
So get a journal and start tracking your thoughts just for the day. Just start writing them down, and you will be shocked at how much negativity that you say to yourself. The second thing, so how to, you know, change that is by journaling. The second thing is be compassionate to yourself. And I look at it like I'm a girl's girl. I have so many great girlfriends. And I think if I'm going to talk to myself, how do I talk to them? How do I encourage them? And you give that love and compassion to yourself. Very, very important. Then the third one, catch yourself. I use a phrase or a word. If I have a negative self-talk, my mental gremlins are just working overtime. I have 2 words that I use, and I say right away, delete, delete. Okay, I didn't mean to put that out in the world, you know, and then I immediately change that to a positive word, and that shifts the mindset. We talked about naming your inner critic, being friends. The other one is loving yourself. And loving yourself, sometimes we need to just take out a piece of paper and write down all of the wonderful characteristics about ourselves. And if you can't think of any, I call a girlfriend, especially if I'm having a hard day, and I go, okay, why do you like me? What do you think is good about me? You know, we all have those days. This is a big one too. It's called the 5-second rule. And that means, how do you train and retrain your mindset? The minute you want to do an action or you want to do something towards your vision, do it within 5 seconds. Because if you do that, you beat the mindset of the negative mindset. You beat it.
You're not overthinking it, right?
Yes.
Right. So those are, you know, most of the ways that I would say. One thing that I love quotes. And there's one by Les Brown. Says, too many of us are not living our dreams because we're living our fears. So what are you more afraid of? You know, really ask yourself, failure or the regret of not trying.
Love all of that. Oh my goodness.
I'm trying to speak fast so we can get information out.
My goodness, that was a lot of juicy good stuff that we all need to hear. And I think as women, those are such habits that are ingrained in us. The negative talk, the way we feel about ourselves. I mean, I know like Suzanne and I, we kind of reinvented ourselves in our 50s. You know, we started new businesses. We went on social media. We started doing things that are scary.
Right.
But boy,
those reels. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Those reels.
And you're so good. I'm a huge fan of you guys. And I just love what you do. And just the authenticity is amazing. So keep doing it, ladies, because it's good stuff.
Pirie, let me ask you this question. So, are small, easy reinventions just as important as big, large, life-changing ones?
Absolutely. And I have to tell you something. It's all mindset. Like, I have some clients who are CEOs of very successful companies, and they want to retire so badly. And what they want to do is, I'll ask them, I say, what do you want to do? They go, I want to just go home and garden, or I just want to go home and play with my grandchildren, or I want to do some traveling with my girlfriends. And they don't know how to quiet their mindset. But why women like that can't do it? Because it's performance-based women, right? Most of us are guilty of that. So how do we quiet that voice? It goes back to self-worth. And most people, they will have their identity, especially if they're good at their jobs and the careers, that's their identity. So if they quit working, then they think, I'm losing my identity, and then what? So I work with them on changing the mindset that you're more than your job. You're more than your relationship. You're more than being a mom. You're more than all these labels that we're so afraid to let go of. So, and then there's some people that want to create, maybe there's a book in them and they've got a great
Something
story.
big and grand, right?
Yes. And it's so important. I tell people, we need your stories. We need your products. We need your, thoughts and the positive thoughts in the world. And so I'm a big proponent of just turning the light up and making sure that you get out there. And you don't have to do it perfectly. That's the other thing. And most women have to battle two things: the invisible woman syndrome. Will I be seen anymore?
Yes.
And then the other one is the less than, the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
If it's something new and I haven't done it before, and maybe I need to go back to school, well, go back to school. I did at 55. I went back to school to get my master's in spiritual psychology. So it's never too late.
It's not too late. I love that.
No, it's not. I want to encourage our listeners, if you have any questions, to put them in the question box or the comments, because we will have time at the end to answer a few of your questions. We see you're commenting, and we so appreciate that. Pirie, so, if I get off this list from listening to this conversation today, and I just want to get started on something, but I'm just not sure what to do, what are 2 steps I can take?
Oh my gosh. So I wrote a book called It's Conversations with Pirie, and it's 30 stories of people who did change their lives, who did do some reinvention. The next question I got asked was, how do I do it? Right? So that's in this workbook. I created what called the 5 activator steps to reinvention. And they're just basic 5 questions that you ask yourself, and you go on a journey. Because some people will get stuck with, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to create? And most people don't even know how to answer that, because the first question, the first step is I say, who are you now?
Yeah.
Who are you now? Right? And then who do you want to become? What's your vision? The big meaty one, the 4th chapter, are the obstacles. And that's where we clean out the limiting beliefs and all these values that don't serve us anymore. And then we come up with an action plan. Because you can have a great vision, but if you don't have an action plan and the commitment, it just never gets done. And those are done in tiny pieces. You can take, maybe you do have a big dream. Listen, ladies, I'm the queen of reinvention. I was raised by a schizophrenic mother, 4 divorces, suicide survivor. I mean, I went through hell. But I started this process, and the things I'm doing now are all things that I started in visions with, speaking and writing books and doing all these things that I never thought I could do. Yeah. And I know this process and why I came up with this system. It works. And you just look at what's stopping you from creating that dream. So listen, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's so much fun. And I just want to encourage women, you know what, when you hit even 45, I'm getting some messages. There's so much more to your life. So much more to your calling.
There sure is. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Yeah. Did you see a question come through, Suzanne? Let me ask.
Well, I see a couple of comments that say fear and time. But those are, I mean, as you mentioned, those are just those little gremlins that just are such nuisances. Well, I don't have the time when I really probably do if I choose my priorities correctly, right?
Right.
And then the fear is, it's just deciding, do I want to do this enough to overcome that, or, what do I have to do to overcome it? So,
and
it's not. Go ahead. Well, also just thinking to yourself, like you said, the regret, just think now that if you do make a change and you overcame that fear and you did it, and just you look and you say, oh my gosh, look at all these opportunities and the people I've met, and then change that, flip it, like you said, and think back, what if I didn't? What if I hadn't, like you, what if you hadn't wrote that book? What if you hadn't started a new, business. And I mean, it's, yeah, the regret for me, I think that would be a big motivator for sure.
I love that. I love that. Ari Patricia says, I'm 72 and rearing to go. So,
yay! In my book, and I'm really not pushing my book, I'm just saying I have stories about men and women who started things. I mean, Grandma Moses started painting at 79. Never knew she had the talent, right? Louise Hay started Hay House Productions at 60. I mean, there's marathon runners in their 90s. So I don't know. Do you guys sometimes think about like I'm 65. I just turned 65. And I think that's old. Oh my God. But I don't feel like I'm 65, And I don't act like it. And I just realize that numbers are just numbers, and just thankful that I'm still here. And if I'm still here, that means I have a purpose on the planet.
Yes.
And so I tell people all the time, because they'll come up to me, well, I just have a little thing I want to change. Maybe it's just I want to get courage to move to another city. Mm-hmm. Or maybe I need courage to, start a relationship, start dating again in my 60s. I quit dating practically in my 50s because it was, oh my God, it was terrible. I hated it. And then I hired a dating coach, and I met a great love in my life at 62. And so I have this amazing relationship that I never really had at 65 years old. So, it's just never too late to start something new. Be creative.
Yeah. Right.
And what I wanted to say, that's really a good point. If there's people listening that their lives are falling apart, right? And they've had a lot of loss, and the pandemic has created that, or they're going through so much negativity that's happening in the world. Let me tell you something. That's a good sign, right? Because when lives are falling apart, that means the new one, a new foundation, needs to be built. But you can't start a new life without letting go of the old. And if you're holding anything inside you, and some of the obstacles, unforgiveness. If you're holding unforgiveness, that stops you. If you're holding on to secrets, that stops you, because you think, if anybody knew I did this, oh my gosh, I'd be so judged. But letting go of the secrets, you find out that, you know what, that's your power. That's really your power. And if you're in pain right now, look at it and how you can clear it and how it can become your purpose. So if you're in a negative spot right now, just know that their next best chapter is on its way, and believe it's just waiting for you to own it and to act on it.
And you deserve, and that you deserve it. And that's really with your self-esteem. We deserve it.
Yes, we do.
We've done so much for everybody else, right?
Yeah, we can look at the things that we've been through and even have gratitude, right, for where they've brought us today. And, I mean, there's a lot of good to be seen. Someone asked in the questions about how do you move on and start dating again?
A lot of prayer. No. You know what I learned, and I learned this from my dating coach too. I would make my list of everything that I wanted in a partner, right? So I had my list, and she read it, and she said, so I have a question. Are you all of these characteristics? And I went, might be some areas I need. And she said, because you've got to take responsibility for your happiness and who you are first. Absolutely. And who we are magnets, we are mirrors, and we will attract the person in our lives who we are, right? So I would say to any woman who wants to start the dating process is to start within herself first. Is she clean in all areas? Has she done the work? Is she not wanting to put, somebody else to be responsible for her happiness or for her, place in the world? If you have that within yourself first, you're not looking out there for somebody else to give it to you. And that's so much more attractive. So much more attractive.
That makes so much sense. And I think that goes to say, even with just reinventing your life, like, if you don't start those little steps, not the whole fake it till you make it, but just the mindset of it, The
Yeah.
Yes.
mindset. Like, yeah,
Yes.
I can,
And
I can be a
it's, you
chapter.
know,
I can
when
go
you
back
work
to
through
school.
those
Yeah.
obstacles, when you
Yeah.
start looking at the obstacles and go deeper, you start
Mhm.
looking at the wounds that need to be healed.
Yeah.
And that's where you start. Now I often have to say something else to the woman who asked me about the dating stuff. I did have to go through a fear. My coach put me on Tinder, online dating. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, isn't that the hookup? I mean, really? I'm 62. I don't want to hook up, you know? And she said, no, it's changed because my biggest concern, I lived in a small town and there's only so much fish in the sea. And so, and I was still raising, you know, both my kids at the time. And so I couldn't be gallivanting around the United States, which I tried for a while. And I found somebody here and she said, you'll find someone who's either coming in town on a ski trip or a golf trip. And that's exactly what happened. I met somebody who was
Yeah.
on a guy's golf trip. So, you know, that's the other thing too. Don't be afraid if there's new things out there
Yeah.
and it's part of the solution, jump into it. I mean,
Yeah.
it took me a while. I was, you know, really afraid of that. But as I got into it, I just looked at it instead of being afraid and fear, I became curious.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, I
like,
love that. Yeah.
you know, let's be curious.
Yeah.
And that
And
opens it
and
up.
adventure, be adventurous again. Think back to
Yes.
when you were like in high school, or even in
Yeah.
before, or even in grade school. That kid in you that was like, oh, I'll do anything, sure.
Yeah.
I'm not that fearlessness. We need to bring that back, reinvent it, bring it back up
Yeah.
inside of us. Yeah.
And you know what? That could be a simple reinvention too. Is you know what? I want to reinvent myself being happy again,
Yeah.
being joyful again. Because if you are out there looking for a mate, you know what? Going out there in your happiness and your joy, that's a huge magnet. Rather than, oh my God, I'm just so determined to find my, mate so I can be happy. It's like, no, it starts with them. That's not anybody else's job. And that's the hard part for people to, believe that you really are the ones that has to take responsibility for your life.
Speaking of that, there's so many things. I would love for you to share a little bit more details about your program that's starting October 3rd. Just, and give us some info on that, because there may be a woman out there that's like, I'm really resonating with this. I want this help. So tell us about that.
I'm so excited about this. It's an online group coaching program that I haven't done in about 2 years, but it's literally this workbook. And it's the 5 steps. And I take you through all the chapters and we dig in. And it starts October 3rd, runs for 6 weeks. It's an 1.5-hour session a week. Also a private Facebook group where I go in, a couple times a week and actually do personal coaching with things. And you have an accountability partner. And if you don't even know what vision you want or what you want to recreate, this is a good place to start, because I'll help you find it. And then we'll, obliterate all the obstacles. We'll create that vision and we'll come up with an action plan all within 6 weeks of the program. And the best way to sign up and register is to go to my Instagram page, Pirie Jones Grossman. Yeah. And then you hit the bio thing and the link tree, and it'll have a space where it says, register for the 6-week course. But it's so much fun. And ladies, the testimonials I've gotten from women have been so heartening. Yeah. And these are steps that I learned when I went back to get my master's in spiritual psychology, and then just my own tools and techniques that helped me. It's chocked full of tools and techniques. It really guides, and it asks those deeper questions that maybe we just haven't thought about.
Well, and I love that, because I think, a lot of times you can read a book or you can do, but how many times have we bought books and said, I'll read it, I'll do the follow-up, but sometimes you need that extra coaching to really push you. And these are big, starting small, but this could be a really big life change. And so how important is that? How worthy are you of that? Yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, that's so cool about this is that you can do every single new vision, new reinvention that you want to do. Like I've had clients that have already worked on 10 things. Maybe you just need that mindset of, you know, like I said, getting off the hamster wheel, or feeling like I deserve to have something of my own. This is the whole step by step where you see yourself authentically. And then what I do as a coach is I help you see yourself as I do. Because I see everybody, anybody who comes to me and they feel broken, they feel, I look at them and I go, no, you're a beautiful diamond. And I'm going to help you see yourself as that beautiful diamond. And that's what happens. Because when we clear out all these obstacles, which believe me, ladies, most of them are untruths. They are just flat out lies, or they're things from the past that we're hanging on to, or beliefs and values that are no longer true. So when we clear those out, which is really easy, it's not like you got to take a year long to just clear out one thing. We can clear, you know, in a minute. And it's just a reframe. My daughter said something to me. It was really funny. Part of my process at school, we had to do what we call a history of loving. And I had 4 pictures of men. And I was holding a secret because I felt guilty. I was married 4 times, but I told her 3 times because I had one annulled. So in my mind, I'm thinking, right? It's just caca, right? It's just stuff that you're like thinking, oh my God, I'll be so judged. So she looks at these and she goes, Mom, I know who that is and that is and that, but who's that? And I looked at her and I was like, you know, caught deer in headlights. And I go, oh, that was husband number 3. She goes, I thought you were only married, you know, 3 times, not 4. And I go, I know, honey. As I was getting ready to, you know, try to explain it, she goes, wow, those 4 men loved you. They wanted you. And I did the reframe just like that. And I went, oh my God. And I tears came to my face, gave her a big hug. And of course, as any 17-year-old, do you have all the rings? And I'm like, oh.
That's hilarious.
And I just let it go instead of feeling like a failure. She did frame for me where, wow, you still believe in love, and those women wanted you, and how cool is that? But just how that mindset, we can hang on to that guilt, or, you know, and I'm a faith girl, and I would just beat myself up and say, oh my God, you're such a failure at love. But I'm not.
No.
So anyway.
You said some really good things, and there are a lot of people that have just joined us in the last 5 minutes. So I'm just going to do a quick recap so they're going to know they need to go back and watch this when we post it. You said name your inner critic and give them, what, 5 or 10 seconds, and then nip it in the bud. Just do away with that. You said the mental gremlins, which are those little pointed little darts that are, you know, we have in our brain that are not always true. And so we need to get rid of those. But we also need to deal with ourselves with grace. And I loved your delete thought. You know, have a word or phrase that when that pops into your head, you just deal with it and get rid of it. So I love yourself. I love that you said that, Pirie. That's you've said so many good things, and you offer so much to all the people that want to do something new. So we so appreciate your conversation today.
Oh, thank you. I just, you know, my whole purpose in life is to help women heal so that they can see and believe in themselves, the beautiful diamonds that they are. Because this world, we need it. We need lights, I mean, full flames, full throttle up, you know, so that people can believe and have hope again. And it really starts with us. And we can make that change in the world just with us. And sometimes hanging on to things and we think it's going to be so hard, but you know, you can switch it just like this, and the change happens and the flow happens, and you end up, you know, looking at yourself and going, oh my gosh, look what I did. Look what I did.
Yep.
You did that. You did that.
And we talked about baby steps too. You know, sometimes the best thing you could do is to go shopping and get a new outfit, or do something different to your hair, or get great makeup from Karen, or whatever. It's that plays into your mindset, doesn't it?
It really does, because that goes back to your self-worth. Do I feel I'm worthy, you know, to spend the time? And the answer is yes. And again, have fun with it. Like all Karen's tips are great. It's having fun, experiment. So many women stop and they say, oh, I can't do that. I'm not going to spend the money on that. I'm just going to get up and, you know, just show up and not really try. Well, listen, that's when you're cutting your life short. But sometimes it is a baby step. Sometimes, oh, by the way, this brought a good idea. So when you're in a negative mindset, sometimes you need what I call pull a geographic. Get yourself dressed, go outside, take a walk, change your geographic, your physical, you know, environment.
Do your shopping, you know.
Right. Yep. Retail therapy, I'm big on, you know. Big time. You need a really quick one. You know, the inner critic, be friends with the inner critic. All the inner critic is our ego. And it's just trying to protect us from things we did in the past. And so when I have that, I named mine Pesky, when she says, well, you can't do that because remember last time we did it and it failed and blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, yeah, but that was in the past. Okay, Pesky, out of the car. Now, we're going to do it differently. And that's what you say to yourself, because they proved in brain science that our words are so powerful. Our thoughts are so powerful. And you will be shocked. At the end of the day, ask yourself, how am I feeling? And then look back on all the thoughts you had. And if you feel crappy at the end of the day, I can guarantee you 80%, 90% of your thoughts were crappy, right?
Yeah.
So you want to change it. And you just start changing the dialogue. Talk to yourself like you're talking to your best friend, because you are and you should be. You know, and that inner child, sometimes she's had some wounds. And you can even talk to her and say, you know what, honey, what are you afraid of? Because mama's here. I got you. We're going to get healed and we're going to go right that way. You know?
I'm seeing some really great comments. This is resonating. This is fantastic. So this has been so great. And we are going to share this before we take off. And make sure that you click this little button right above my head. It's a little arrow. And make sure you click and follow myself, Suzanne, and make sure you follow Pirie, because then once you're in there, you can reach out to her, message her, or, you know, click on her information to get connected. And that's really what MidLife Besties is about. It's connecting ourselves with other women, because we all have the same stories. We all have these same feelings, these self-doubts. And when we can talk about them and share it, we don't feel so afraid anymore.
Right. We're in this together. Oh, and you know what? I wanted to offer you guys, your followers, some freebies. So if you go to my website, which is just PirieJonesGrossman.com, there's two freebies. One is about secrets, how to get rid of secrets, how to do it the right way. And I talk about that. And the other one is just a basic outline. If you want to start reinvention, I'll just give you a little ebook on you know, how to start. And then there's another one of quotes that were very powerful and meaningful for me as I was going through my reinvention. But I just put some beautiful pictures of Sun Valley and some quotes just for you to have around and, you know, remind yourself that it is a beautiful time and you do have a beautiful life and you do deserve it.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Well, Suzanne,
thank you.
Close us out here.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll recap all of this. If you didn't join us till late, be sure and go back and listen as we get it posted later. So thank you again, Pirie. And so great to talk to you today. Everybody have a great Monday and go do something. Take a baby step.
Go do something fun for yourself. And you guys do
so
amazing work. Thank you. Thank you for all the work you do. It's amazing.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.